Lucky me, I live in Lubbock. I am Tat Dude 806, and I need to look at the camera and not the monitor. Welcome back to the Heatsinks Arcade. We're going to do something a little different this time around. I got a hold of a couple of PS2s. Now, one of them, the one with the cute NASA sticker on it, I actually paid... I'm not going to say how much I paid for it, but I paid about $15 more than probably what I should have, only because I was able to test it out and verify it works completely. It is the PS2 fat model that does not have the FireWire port. And then tonight at a local, and I actually picked this one up at a local retro gaming store. Now this PS2 I actually picked up at Ralph's Records here in Lubbock. They sell predominantly CD, vinyl, a lot of movies. They also have a lot of vintage consoles, but they have a whole stack of old consoles that are broken, busted, and $4. I paid $4 for this PS2, which is a lot less than what I paid for this one. They told me it didn't work. I plugged it in, it powered up. So, but the front cover for the drive is broke off there. I don't know what happened to it, where it's at. I haven't actually tested a game in it, so it may actually be busted. Neat thing about both of these is that they both have the expansion bay. I'm going to tell you right now, this one did not have a hard drive in it. I didn't expect it to have one. This one, I don't know yet. I'm fixing to pull it out. It feels like it might, but what we're going to do, this is not going to be a teardown video. I don't do teardown videos. You will see me take it apart, but absolutely under no circumstances should you use this video as a teardown guide. If you do, then it's your fault if you fuck something up. Plain and simple. Biggest reason I wanted these two consoles, first of all, Resident Evil 2. I still think this is one of the best horror games of the horror genre available for the PS1, but it'll play on the PS2 and actually nicer. And this was my pick. I got lucky. Okay, Grand Theft Auto 3, still factory sealed. Okay. It's not uncommon to find these sealed still. They made enough copies of them, but I absolutely love Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto 3 is the one that I think really changed the face of gaming. And so first thing we're going to do on this one, and the thing is, if one or both of these needs parts, then I can swap out. And honestly, if I had my way, I would actually take this one only because it's got the FireWire port, and those were a little more first edition. I'm actually hoping I'll be surprised and there will be a hard drive in this thing. That would be so freaking awesome. Darn, it doesn't. No hard drive in this one. But the network adapters are pretty cool though, because you can put a IDE drive in it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, unless you have a way to format the hard drive to the PS2 specs, your only other choice is to use something like McFreeboot, which I am looking into as a possibility. I have IDE drives everywhere, and you get a lot of options. But as you can tell, both of these consoles are pretty filthy. This one, somebody's spilled paint or paint pen. I even see a cigarette burn on it, so this will probably wind up actually being my parts machine, possibly. If the board in it's good, I may salvage the board and try to salvage, whatever I can. Maybe try to take two semi-functional systems and make one out of it. Fan is absolutely disgusting. The vents are pretty gross, but like I said, it has the FireWire port. Now, FireWire is pretty uncommon these days, but this shows that this was one of the first runs of that particular PS2. Now, this PS2, not only does it have the cute NASA sticker on it that has to go, just dirty. This thing I think is dirtier than the other one. Fan is just caked on dirt. Same thing with the vents. And if you notice, I think there is a difference with the vents. This one actually has, like, I'll show you what it's kind of got here, so you can kind of see here. If you can see in there real well, if you look right here, it's kind of got a piece of meshed metal behind the vent cover. This one does not. Now, does that mean it was supposed to have it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't owned a PS2 in a long time, but this one doesn't have that. So, and then same thing with this one too. Like I said, we pulled the expansion port off it already. I pulled it off a couple of days ago, but no hard drive. So we have two of these that are from two. It looks like just by looking at the serial numbers, they're actually not that far off. They're actually of the same. It looks like they're the same run. So I have two perfectly good network adapters. This one, like I said, is just disgusting. Just dirty as hell, but I know for a fact it works. It plays games. I've already played a game in it. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to tear both of them down. We're going to try to figure out what's wrong with this one. If, like I said, I can salvage anything out of this one, I'm going to. I want one solid working unit. And, you know, one thing that the vintage gaming community has been kind of weird about is whether or not, and I apologize if my camera's a little off center. I'm not real sure why that is. Is that better? No. So we have to compensate. All right, sorry about that jump cut. We had some camera problems. My camera decided it wanted to do that. So one of the things that the vintage gaming community, I've heard varied debates on this, especially with these older consoles. I believe you should always have a spare. Whether it works, if it doesn't work, I don't care. I think you should have a spare. For no reason other than if you got a fully functioning spare, hey, one dies, no big deal, put the other one into service. Plus, it gives you parts. You know, it gives you parts that, as time goes on, even though there's a shit ton of PS1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, along with Nintendo, I mean, I can just go down the list. Eventually, they will become very difficult to find. As time goes on, to find them in good working order, it's going to be harder to find, and you're going to pay more for them. So, while you can still pick these up, I mean, $4. $4 freaking bucks. And it powers up. Now, that doesn't mean that the drive in it, the DVD drive in it, doesn't have a problem and it's missing, you know, it's missing a plastic foot. Just little stupid things, but hey, I've got a complete system here that I know at least powers up and goes to the startup screen. So, the other thing, we're actually going to do any of our testing. I was actually very disappointed because I didn't pay attention when I bought my TV. TV behind me, Insignia 40-inch from Best Buy. I'm not promoting them. I didn't pay attention when I bought it. All it has is composite video in. I mean, it has obviously HDMI. It has 3 HDMI ports, has a VGA port, but no component. So I was actually kind of disappointed because I thought it did, but I don't ever go behind my TV, so I don't fucking know. So there will be, I won't be doing any videos in there. However, my monitors that I use for my just regular computer here, they do have components, so we'll do all of our testing on one of these using component cables. Now, the nice thing I like is that the PS1, PS2, PS3 all use the exact same cable. The ends are the same on every one of them. This was actually for a PS3. I know for a fact it'll work with these. I've used them before, no big deal. Components the way to go. I don't like the up converters, the up convert from this to HDMI. It just doesn't look right. I mean, it's 480p. You're never going to squeeze 1080p out of an Xbox, or I'm sorry, PS2. I can't believe I even started to say Xbox. Fuck that. I'm not a Microsoft person. I'm a Sony person. But I have I have all 4 consoles now that Sony have ever produced. I've got a PS1 that I also picked up tonight for $3. That is one of the old style ones that eventually we'll get to tearing it down and cleaning it and seeing if we can make it work. But for now, we're going to start tearing both of these apart. I think we're going to start with the ugly one first, since we don't know exactly what's wrong with it. Start tearing it down and trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, before we really get going here, I wanted to point out something on these network adapters. This one I actually noticed is bent right here real bad. It's actually bent into the metal. That's all bent up. Chances are this one had a hard drive and they either pushed or pulled too hard on it. There is a slight curve right there. This is the one that's actually good. This one looks okay. It doesn't look like it's been bent out. This is probably the one I will use and mark as good. The other cool thing I just noticed is that they actually have the Ethernet port covered on it. I don't know what you can do with them these days, really, other than just use them for an IDE drive. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to go ahead and flip this puppy upside down. 6 screws that I'm aware of. It's either 6 or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over here 7 and 8. Once again, I point out I am not Adam Korlick. I admire Adam. I think Adam does awesome work, but I'm not going to sit there and be that detailed with y'all because why? I, one, have better things to do with my time, and quite frankly, I don't have the patience to do what I call a traditional teardown video. I'm not that kind of person. Okay, you got rubber feet on the ends. In the middle are plastic covers like so, and you've also got those on the other end. You want to go ahead and pull those. What I usually like to do, and I'm not doing it tonight for some reason, is I like to keep like little ramekin or old like prescription pill bottles, stuff like that. So you can kind of keep all this stuff in one place. So I'll probably have to go grab one before too long. I like to pop these plastic covers first, and honestly, if I break a couple of these, once again, not a super big deal. I paid $4 for it, and actually I lie. I actually paid $3 for this PS3 this PS2 because I was sold both the PS1 and this one for a total of $6. So honestly, I thought that was a pretty good deal, especially since I've got one that absolutely works. Now, one thing I'll point out is that a lot of your genuine, bona fide retro game stores, they'll keep these things because they'll test them. If they can't use them, they'll use them for parts. Stores like Ralph's Records, and I like Ralph's. I've met Ralph several times. Good guy. This is not a promotion or an ad for them, but they are not a dedicated gaming store. So their guys are not going to spend the time it takes to fire one of these up. They're going to see if it works or not, plain and simple. If it doesn't work, then by all means, they're not going to take it. Or if they've got one that's already broke, they're not going to take the time to fix it because that's not what they do. Phillips head screwdriver. And we want to go ahead and pull all these screws. And, you know, like anything else, you want to make sure you don't necessarily know exactly where they have to go back to, but if you pull, let's say, a screw that's a little bit longer out of one location, just be sure you know where it is, or do what I'm doing and tape it, or take a crap ton of pictures, so that way you put it back together correctly. Now that one's not going to come out without some help. And where are we at there? There we go. I want to say that one of it's either these two on the end, I think, are longer, or there's one in the corner that's longer than the rest of them. Actually, let's go ahead and dump those two out real quick so we can... Okay, so far these look all the same. So the ones on the side, the ones on the edge right here, and the ones over here are identical. So I'm trying to keep the PS2 straight here because I'm actually using a standalone camera, not a webcam, so I can't really see what the hell I'm doing here. Okay, the ones in the middle are going to be your long ones. Okay. Thank you, Adam. I will give credit where credit's due. Adam does a real good job on these. Adam's videos are actually, in my opinion, pretty basic, though, because he concentrates solely on cleaning the unit, not so much repairing it. But he has made the comment in a lot of his teardown videos that more often than not, just a good cleaning will bring a system back to life. And that's generally true. Okay, actually, it looks like we got 4 long ones. So 2 short ones on the end, 4 long ones in the middle on the other end. So, alrighty, we're making some progress. I may actually have to switch SD cards here in a minute. Okay, flip it back upside down. Let's go ahead and pop the cover. Oh God, I'm already getting a mouthful of dust. Okay, first of all, we have a ribbon cable, as you can see here, that goes to the power button and the LED. So we probably want to get that out of there first. And I'm honestly, it's been a while since I've pulled a PS2 apart, but there we go, we've pulled it out. Now, I follow Adam's rules on a lot of this stuff, soap and water. This one's pretty dusty. You can just see right there. I mean, and this is West Texas. You know, Adam lives in Chicago. You know, things get dusty up there, but this is West Texas. Dry, not pseudo-arid West Texas. So dust collects a lot easier, and this stuff's kind of caked on. It's kind of gross. I also go with his theory that you should only use soap and water on these. However, I will tell you now, if you have no pieces of metal, now this one's got a screw in it that's holding the memory card slots, which you can pull out. I have actually successfully put these in a dishwasher and had no problems with it. But because this one's got so much gunk, it looks like a paint pen blew its load all over the top of this thing. Chances are this case is probably not salvageable. In addition, like I said, there's a cigarette burn in it, so I'm not super worried about cleaning this one, but if you were to. And this was manufactured by Foxconn in, oh Lord, I used to be able to read their date codes. I can't, but it was built, it looks like, in 9 of 2003. So a little bit newer than I had actually thought it would be. Okay, so we're going to just stick that off to the side because, like I said, we're not going to worry too much about cleaning this particular unit. Okay. and I may stop and I may actually have to refer back to Adam's videos, but I know that there's a number of screws that we need to remove. I do not have a set of jeweler's screwdrivers, which is going to be required to pull the CD tray, and it looks like the CD tray on this one's kind of funky, so I may actually go take a few minutes off, go run up to Home Depot, buy a precision jewelry set real quick, jeweler set, and then we'll probably come right back to it. Okay guys, so continuing on, we got two screws here that the memory holds the memory controller and control slot in place. Ribbon cable, if you want to pull this, you can, if you know what you're doing. I'm not gonna trash Adam Corlick. I think the guy is really good at what he does. I probably would go a step further, but a lot of that I think maybe has to do with my knowledge of electronics, which I am extremely knowledgeable in. Under normal circumstances, I would probably go ahead and pull these cables, because I mean, if you can just see all this caked on dust, dirt, and debris that's on this. If you feel comfortable and you know enough about electronics to undo the clips on this, and these are it's just a standard ribbon cable with a couple clips that you just pull up on. And this one's actually stuck, so I may not, but normally you would there's a couple of small clips, you pull it, the thing pops out, you pop the cable out, and that way you can get a little better cleaning on that. But due to the fact that the actual clip is stuck, I'm not going to mess with it. And it's a Foxconn connector, so you know what that means. Chinese quality, Chinese prices. So we're just going to leave that there. There's a screw in the back for the fan. And then, if I'm not mistaken, well, I thought there was one more. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just one solid piece. Yeah, I was wrong. Okay, pop the power connector out. Pop the fan out. The fan's going to be a bitch to put back in. It's going to take some time. Once again, this fan is just filthy gross. But then again, so is the entire case. This whole thing is just absolutely disgusting, to say the least. So, okay, we got those out. For right now, I'm not going to worry too much about the Blu-ray drive. By the way, I want to point out real quick, every now and then you'll have like a ribbon cable that's held down by a sticker on various consoles. We're going to have to pull this in order to access the cover of the... Well, I'm a brilliant one here. In order to access the top of the DVD drive. When we get to that point, when we get done, if the sticker's no good anymore, take a piece of masking tape, piece of scotch tape, whatever tape turns you on. Duct tape if it makes you happy. There's something that's non-conductive, obviously. So, okay, now let me make sure we've got every single one of the screws out, and I think we do. So we are good now to separate the motherboard from the case. Now, you can see on the bottom of that motherboard, it's pretty fucking dusty. This whole system's just gross dusty. So we're going to set that off to the side for the moment. And I've already got like sheer amounts of dust all over my desk. Because this is the Firewire version, I want to try to salvage it. This bottom case is scratched all to hell, but who's looking at the bottom of it? I'm not. I'm more concerned about the inside of it. The inside's absolutely gross. So I'm actually going to, and it looks like we may have had some plastic broke, possibly. I can't really tell. But on this one, it actually kept the RF shielding on it. But what we're going to do is I'm actually going to run this one through just soapy water. I'm not going to do the dishwasher method on that, mainly because there's a sticker on it, and that sticker will come off. Now, one thing I noticed about mine when I pulled the bottom cover off is no RF shielding. Some of them had it, some of them didn't. I've already actually cleaned the case, and the case just came out just beautiful. So now comes the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and start spraying it before I ever even start dealing with the drive assembly. And to be honest with you, I honestly think this drive assembly I'm probably going to call a total loss and go ahead and use the one from the other unit, because this one stuck real bad when I tried to power it on. Compressed air is your best friend. I've never had a problem with it, but I mean, you can just see dust already just pouring out of this thing. So much so that it even blew the little red straw off. Now, once again, guys, I'm not your dad. I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do, but do not use mine as a do not use mine as a teardown guide. Your results may vary. You may not know what the hell you're doing. Believe it or not, though, a lot of this dust on this thing is just dry dust. I mean, it's pretty fucking gross. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and dust it out. We're going to use the Q-tip Windex. Actually, I choose not to use Windex on a lot of cleaning. I use Windex on connectors. I use it on certain things, but I actually find that Sprayway, good old-fashioned foaming glass cleaner, works just as well for just generic cleaning. On electronic components, yes, I still hold true to Windex or rubbing alcohol. Depends on what you like. I prefer both. It just depends on circumstances. So let me get this blown out. We'll be back in a few minutes. Alrighty, guys, continuing on, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this DVD ROM board. There are 3 spots you have to pull this thing apart at. There's one in the back, there's one in the middle, and then there's one up front. Now, you better feel comfortable doing this. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, then don't do it. And I'm not overly sure I want to do this, but this drive has got problems, and it's bad. So I may just see what happens and just do it very carefully and try to get it back together. So we'll see what happens here in just a few minutes. And actually, guys, I take that back. These have pull tabs on them, so you can actually pull them out just like that. And there you go. There's the drive completely disinstalled from the unit, including hair. Very long, nasty pieces of fucking hair. This unit doesn't look too bad. It is a little dirty, but the tray was not opening right, and quite frankly, I don't have the mechanical knowledge to physically fix the tray. By the way, I did get the memory card and controller adapter up. That little clip, I don't know how well you can or can't see. It actually flips up. Some of them flip up, some of them pull out. It just kind of depends. So the big thing now is just going to be finish spraying it out, try to get the rest of this dust that's in this thing out, and then taking the other one apart, taking what I need out of it and getting it back together so I have one full, complete, working PS2. Now, on fans, I do that a lot. I will actually spray the fan and let it blow. It will blow a lot of it off, but you will have to go back and use the Q-tip method to finish cleaning stuff like the fan assembly, like this back piece of plastic. I mean, you can just see all that dirt back there. I mean, that shit's caked on there. It's ugly. So we will probably just use that. And on pieces like that, if you got a big enough of a space and you got enough room, I don't have a problem with using an old rag and some glass cleaner, whether it's Sprayway, Windex, whatever, you know, cheap generic ammonia based window cleaner you want to use. That's up to you. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and finish taking everything off this one and getting it cleaned. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one disassembled, and as we go along, we'll keep showing what we're doing. Once again, this is not a teardown guide. Do not use what I'm doing as gospel, because it's not. It's just me doing this. So wasn't that nice watching the camera go every which way? Okay, guys, so I'm going to finish up my video about the whole fiasco with the two PS2s. Both PS2s were bad. The drives were bad. And then, of course, you know, they were both 5000 series PS2s. Unfortunately, the drives were completely different, so there was no swapping them. The one I picked up from Ralph's Records for $3, the drive on it was just bad. It does power up. Everything else works, but the drive's bad. What made me mad was the PS2 that I had picked up from the vintage gaming store, that the tray itself was broke. The stops on it were broke completely off. It wouldn't load correctly. It wouldn't eject correctly. And it pissed me off because these are guys I've done business with a lot. I've never had to sit there and have them test a system for me just to make sure that it works. So it really, it did a pretty good number on me. It really just, it pissed me off. So, knowing that I didn't want to get on eBay and order drives, because you don't know what you're going to get on eBay. It's always it's a crapshoot. So I went back to the local gaming store. If you notice, I'm not going to mention them by name, only for the sole reason that I do business with these guys. You know, not very frequently, but frequently enough to where I'm not going to risk a ban, because they are one of the only 2 places in town I can get a lot of things just locally instead of having to order them. So I went in and I told him point blank. I told him how displeased I was, which was Ben speak for. I was fucking pissed off. And the guy there basically gave me the, well, why didn't you test it before you left? Okay. I'll take that one, because I should have. But at the same time, they should have done a better job of testing the unit. Don't put something up for sale that, one, was that filthy. That system was that filthy. And consider the fact that I paid $15 over what I should have paid for it to assure that I had a working system. It pissed me off. It really pissed me off. And I'm starting to think that they don't have anybody working there that really knows what they're doing or really gives a shit. They may just take them in, turn them on one time. Hey, load screen's on. Okay, good. Power it off. Let's sell it. So I will be very cautious of what I buy from them in the future. Every system or controller or anything else I buy in the future will be plugged in and it will be tested. So while I was there, I was very fortunate that they had another PS2 for $10. They said that it just would not read discs. It just wouldn't read them at all, which I know that's a common problem, and I know that's generally a pretty easy fix. This is actually the SCPH 390001, which most of the Sony gaming enthusiasts will tell you is the absolute best model of the PS2, because the mechanicals in it are a lot more solid, a lot more stable. The drive was a better drive overall. So I said, okay, this is it. If I can't get it running on this one, to hell with it. You know, I'll just do without a PS2. Got it home. It's dusty. It wasn't filthy bad like the other one that I was pulling hair and a roach out of. It was a little dusty, so we cleaned it up, took the lens assembly, and cleaned it real good with, I don't use the Windex method when I clean that kind of stuff. I use Sprayway. I like the non-ammoniated, especially on lenses. That's just me. Some people disagree. Cleaned it, put it all back together again, fired right up. The tray sticks a little bit on eject, but not bad. That's something that I'm going to look at a couple of other videos in the future and lube up all the parts in there accordingly, so you know, maybe it'll slide out a little easier. And the great thing about this PS2 had a free copy of GTA Vice City in it, so hey, I kind of made up for it a little bit. Powered up, started playing, no problem. So lesson learned, you know, if you're gonna buy a vintage gaming system, and I don't care who you're buying it from, I really don't care who you're going to buy it from, test it. Test the damn thing. You know, if it's a disc-based system, open it, close it, run a couple games through it, make sure all your accessories that they're giving you work, you know, because you get what you pay for. And in my case, I got ripped off, in my opinion, because if I had known it didn't work like that, I would never have bought it. I would have bought the $10 one and then just found everything for it. So, lesson learned. Next time around, I am going to start the PS1. I got a hold of it. I played with it a little bit last night. It freezes on the boot screen, and you start hearing the and it just stalls, which once again indicates it's generally a lens problem. There's a couple settings that you can adjust in there to kind of force the lens to start reading again. Fortunately, PS1s are so common, and they do use pretty much the same parts all the way around until you get to the real thin ones. So, you know, worst case scenario, we buy a new lens assembly for it, but we'll be testing out next time. Guys, as always, rate, comment, favorite, subscribe on this video, and thanks for watching.